Mr. President, let me just take a few minutes here to share an idea that when we come back next week, we're going to be talking about a budget. We're going to be talking about making really difficult, very difficult decisions. I would say that we, on the committee that I chair, the Senate Armed Services Committee, have an advantage, I think, over some of the other people. Because one of the critical things in the budget coming up is how that treats the military. And I think it's important that people understand that if you're a member of the Armed Services Committee, you're in a position to know something the other members don't know. Now, that may sound like someone's not doing their job, but that's not true at all. You know, when you're in the Senate Armed Services Committee, you have hearings that take place. You start in January, you're going to have posture hearings. The posture hearings are going to sometimes be or normally would be about 6 hours a week of hearings. In hearings, you find out things that you just don't have time to find out unless you're a member. If you're a member, you're sitting there for 3 hours a week. Now, I don't say this critically of the previous administration because I would say in the Obama administration, the top priority was not defending America. In fact, he established something that was called parity. Parity was saying that for every dollar that you put into military, you have to put $1 into the non-military. And that's never happened before. Or at least it has not happened since World War II. And at that time, it's been established that would be our priority. Every Democrat and every Republican president at that time, all the way up until the Obama administration, had defending America as the top priority. Now, what happened during that administration was that we actually had a dramatic reduction. If you use constant dollars, that reduction took place between 2010 and 2015. It took place using constant dollars, and for this description, we use 2018 dollars. Going into 2010, it was about $780 billion. Going into 2015, it was 532 or something like that. So it's about a reduction of 25% in the defense budget in a 5-year period. That's never happened before in the history of this country. And yet we suffered through it, and we paid dearly for it. And a lot of people are not aware of it. Unless you're on the committee, if you're on the Armed Services Committee, you know this because you see it. And so we, when the current president came in, President Trump, his budget boosted that back up to, now talking about real dollars, it was $700 billion in fiscal year 18. Then in fiscal year 19, it was $716 billion. Now we're getting into where we are today, the current budget. And we passed a defense authorization bill. And in the defense authorization bill, it actually came out to agreeing that we had to get to $750 billion. You might ask why. Well, we had a thing that was called the defense system. It was a document that was really a good document. It talked about how we're going to, because during the Obama administration, we saw China and Russia become peer competitors in many areas. In fact, they ended up with some things that were better than us. I mean, just as an example, artillery during that period of time. Both China and Russia have us outranged and outgunned. How many people know that? People assume that America has the best of everything. Well, that was true up until that time. Air defense, only 2 active duty battalions, no new technological advancements. Nothing happened during that period of time, and that allowed China and Russia to start creeping up and getting ahead of us. Nuclear triad modernization. We had no modernization increase at that time, but Russia and China did. In fact, China actually has today a nuclear triad, and Russia is actually building one. But electronic warfare, the United States defense against, we didn't have that kind of a defense. Russia used, if you remember what happened in Ukraine. Hypersonics. Now, hypersonics is kind of the newest thing that people talk about. It's a type of a weapon system that moves at 5 times the speed of sound. It's something that is the weapon system of the future. Now, prior to that past administration, prior to the Obama administration, we were ahead in our research on hypersonics. But at the end of it, and up until this new administration came in, we were actually behind Russia and China. I only say that because we really took a hit. And the only time that we've had 3 opportunities, one fiscal 18, one fiscal 19, and then the other on the budget that we're going to be voting on this coming week. That was our opportunity to catch up. And I would just say this, if you're on the Armed Services Committee, you have an obligation because you are in a unique position of knowing the deficiencies that we have. And others don't have that. A lot of them, I think many of our members take the time and they find out that they can get this done. But we're in a position where, like General Dunford, as an example, he said that we have lost our qualitative and our quantitative edge. In artillery, China is outnumbered. We're actually outnumbered 5-1 by China and 10-1 by Russia. Air and missile defense, China and Russia have weapons that prevent access. We call them SAMs, surface-to-air missiles. Nuclear modernization, no real U.S. modernization took place during that time. And so we had some of our top people admitting that we had deficiencies, and we quickly tried to correct them. Well, along came fiscal year 18. Fiscal year 18, we got back up to a $700 billion budget. And we started working on things. And we had the manual, and it's a manual. I'd normally take this down with me to the floor when we talk about this manual, because this is something that everyone agreed. The manual was put together. It was the SDS manual. It was put together by 12 Democrats and 12 Republicans, all experts in national defense. And everyone agreed that would be our blueprint to pull us out of where we were at that time. And it was working. We were on schedule to do it. And we're currently close to, with this budget, on schedule. Now, it says that while we're rebuilding our military, we should be anticipating that we have to increase our military spending by between 2 and 3% over this period of time. That's a net increase. Well, the budget that we came out with in the Defense Authorization Bill was $750 billion, and it was a budget that was almost gets us there, but not quite. Now, the president's budget that came out just the other day, that has that figure at $738 billion, and that's that's very close to where we're supposed to be. And it's a 2-year budget. That's a good thing for the military. We understand that. Those of us on the defense committee. So that brings that 738 up to 740. So very close to the $750 billion. And I only say that because that makes it more important for anyone who is serving on the Defense Authorization, on the Senate Armed Services Committee, to be in a position to know what I've just said. And that's something that most people don't know, and I don't believe that most of the members of this body know it. But those who are on the committee, they do know it. And we have to keep in mind that this budget is going to be the only way that we're going to be able to do what we need to be done. Now, this is the short version. I'm going to come back and talk about this coming Monday and give a lot more details than we gave now. But I would just say this, that I would encourage any member of the Senate Armed Services Committee to understand that they're in a position to know what the problem is. And a lot of other people do not know that. So I would anticipate that members of the committee would be in that unique position to know and would be supporting a budget that gives us enough room to get back into position to recover from the losses that we took from the previous administration. That's what's at stake. That's what we're anticipating. And I would anticipate that our members of the committee should be doing that. With that, I'll yield the floor.